Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Birds of Prey, Sensei and Student. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, Birds of Prey, Sensei and Student has two stories going on in it, and those two stories eventually intertwine with each other to make one grander overall story. The first story I am going to call the Black Canary story. Why? Because it's centered around Black Canary. Pretty smart of me. Anyways, Black Canary travels to China to meet up with one of her old teachers, her old senseis that taught her martial arts, someone who she considers a father figure. And upon reaching him, she finds out that he is dying. I forget of what. I believe it's cancer, but it could just be old age. But anyways, he is dying, and she's come to pay her respects to him. However, she's not the only student who's paying her respects. None other than Lady Shiva shows up to pay respects to her old master as well. Now, see, some of you guys may not know who Lady Shiva is. So, for those of you out there that don't, I'll give you a brief description. Lady Shiva is without a doubt one of, if not the most deadliest martial arts masters in all the DC universe. There's very few people that I would put on the same level as Lady Shiva. Only two, and that would be Richard Dragon and the Batman, Bruce Wayne. Only those two are on the same level of Lady Shiva. And Lady Shiva rarely loses. Off the top of my head, the only times I can recall her actually losing a fight was twice against Bruce Wayne. However, in those instances, one time Jason Todd was there and interfered, and the other time it's debatable on whether or not Gorilla Grodd was controlling her. And the only other time was with Cassandra Cain, her own daughter. However, someone can dispute the fact that Lady Shiva has a death wish and that she's allowed her to win. Whatever the excuse may be, Lady Shiva does not lose. She's one of those few people that you don't want to deal with. Like, I made a list once of people that if I was a superhero that I would never want to deal with in the DC universe. On it would be people like Deathstroke the Terminator or Lex Luthor, and high up there is Lady Shiva, because she is that deadly and that good. I want you guys to understand that Lady Shiva is one of, if not the best. Like I said, only two people have come close. Richard Dragon and Bruce Wayne. No Bronze-Tider, no Black Canary, no Dick Grayson, no Cassandra Cain. Despite the fact Cassandra beat her, Lady Shiva is that damn good. So anyways, now that I give you guys a little kind of introduction to Lady Shiva is there to pay respects to her old master. Her master makes Lady Shiva and Black Canary have a promise. And that promise is Black Canary can never take Lady Shiva into custody, but Lady Shiva must never kill Black Canary. An interesting conundrum that they're put in, because that forces them to actually work together and not have a reason to backstab each other. However, upon them leaving and getting something to eat, they are attacked by a gang of thugs. And this is only a distraction because they find out that their sensei, although very close to death, is actually assassinated. And this sends them on an adventure, working with each other to figure out exactly who assassinated their teacher. While this is going on, Oracle is being attacked on her mainframe, on her computer. You know, this thing right here, right, that you're on, is getting attacked. A virus is being thrown in, a hacker is taking her out, and this is worrying her big time because there's one person that never gets hacked, and that is Oracle. She is the best there is at what she does, and what she does is computer stuff. Thought I was going to throw a Wolverine quote out there. No, I wasn't. But the fact of the matter is that she's getting hacked, and this is not good, and this makes her feel very uncomfortable, so much so that she needs to go and get help from some other hackers, some of the other better hackers in the universe, or, well, the world, the DC universe, how about that? And upon this, she gets abducted. And who is behind this abduction? Well, an old foe wanting revenge. And all of this is tied behind a U.S. senator. Oracle story? in Black Canary's story all have something to do with this U.S. Senator. Exactly what it is, I won't reveal. But that is how the two stories tie together. At the end of these two stories, the team, Black Canary, Oracle, and Huntress, finally get their bearings and make themselves officially the birds of prey. The question is this: will the two of them walk away from their journeys unscathed? Will they come into some confrontations? Will Black Canary have to answer the hardest question of all when Lady Shiva asks her, "Will you be my student?" Will Black Canary refuse, or will she accept? Well, let me just say, I was incredibly jealous that she got that offer and I didn't. Who wouldn't want to be taught by Lady Shiva? But what if she refuses? Could it be a bad omen for Black Canary? Well, you're just going to have to read and see. On to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Boy, is the dialogue fantastic in here. When I say Gail Simone can really write interactions between people, I'm not kidding. She has a real knack at making human interactions between characters just so great. And you really see that with Black Canary, Lady Shiva, the Sensei, and even just Oracle interacting with anyone. And I love the fact that they use Lady Shiva. Lady Shiva is probably one of my favorite villains of all time in the DC universe. And I always liked when she is used because she's a complete badass. The only other time that I've known Lady Shiva to be used and used correctly was when Chuck Dixon used her on many occasions in his Batman universe. He used her during Nightfall and a bit after Nightfall with Batman. He also used her in Batgirl and in Robin. So, Lady Shiva is a character that needs to be handled delicately. You have to handle her correctly. But when handled correctly, it's beautiful. And I'm happy they threw Lady Shiva in here. And I like the conundrum that they put Lady Shiva and Black Canary in. Black Canary can't bring Lady Shiva into custody, but Lady Shiva can't kill Black Canary. Although I must say, Lady Shiva's dialogue at small times, very small times, seemed a little 7-9-ish. I don't know, unhuman, for lack of a better term. But I think that's just her trying to be funny. You have to read and see. But besides that, I just like the fact that Lady Shiva's in there and she's actually portrayed nicely. Is it as good as Chuck Dixon portrays her? Not quite. I'm going to be honest. Chuck Dixon probably does Lady Shiva the best. However, Gail Simone treats the character with respect, and in the end, that's all you can really ask for, is respect for the character. And Black Canary is just a complete badass. I say that a lot, but really she's the star of the show in here because she's just going around and she is handling each situation the best she can. And when she eventually comes to the intertwining of the two stories with Oracle, she lets loose. And it is great. It is just awesome. I also like the situation that that Oracle is put in that she is helpless. Oracle has all this computer skill, but she's being hacked and she's being attacked at what she does best, and she doesn't know how to deal with this. How are you going to deal with this? It's something that is just not common for Oracle to have to contend with. Is someone that's actually beating her at hacking. The only other person in the DC universe that can go up against Oracle is the calculator. And that's it. But this isn't the calculator. Trust me, I thought it was at first. It's not. So, I like the fact that you're putting her into the situation that she's not comfortable in. And finally, the wrap-up issue in this, the one where the team kind of talks to each other and gets their bearing. And they bicker a bit, but eventually they get the team settled. It really feels as though a new beginning for the comic. I mean, granted, this is like 7 or 8 years old. It still feels like a new beginning for the comic. And it's nice. It's enjoyable. And I love it. I love it. Bad. Well, the pacing could have been better on some of the issues. For example, I feel as though we're missing something from one of the scenes. Oracle makes a deal with a bad guy. But we don't actually see that deal happen. And the bad guy is working for Oracle. And it's kind of done off screen or off panel. And it feels as though they could have thrown that in there and it would have helped out a bit. because it feels a little choppy when it comes to the actual story itself. So the pacing could be a little bit better, and it could have been nice if they showed that panel to us, or at least given us this, because it wasn't until maybe a little bit more into the next issue was I like, oh, I understand what's going on now. See, one of the things that I think writers should never do is ever confuse the reader. They can challenge the reader. They can make the reader try to guess things. Like Grant Morrison does that really nicely. He puts clues in front of the reader, and the reader needs to figure things out. But when you confuse the reader on something very simple, it's probably not the best thing. So pacing could be a little bit better in this. On a whole, though, I have to say this was better than Of Like Minds, and it tied up so nicely, and it was very character driven. Although there was very much a huge story behind this, Lady Shiva and Black Canary finding the killer of their master, and Oracle finding out who's hacking her and getting out of the situation that she's put in. It really is a very character driven story and is very nicely done in that. And I have to say, this was a great trade. Now, warning, this can be hard to find. Online, it can go for to the $30 to $40 range. I believe I've seen it in the $20 range at some places. Like I think Amazon did, but it was like used and torn up a bit. Could be wrong. But I've only found this on one comic book stand shelf, and that is my comic book store. Other than that, I haven't found this anywhere else. Granted, I'm not going to lie, I haven't looked much anywhere else because the first place I always go is my comic store. I can tell you that I have, in my time as a comic book collector, and I do look at comics that I don't collect, I rarely see this. So if you're going to get this and you see it, I definitely recommend picking it up because it really is a good story. But be warned, it may take some time to find. You might have to go online to buy it, and you might have to push out a little bit more money than you normally would. But it's worth it. I mean, cover price is going to be $18. You're going to pay maybe an extra $5 to $10 for it. Is it worth it? To be honest, yes. And usually I don't say that for some comics, but really, to be honest, yes, it is worth it because it is a good comic. So with that said, I'm going to end this review here. Sensei and student, I definitely learned something from this, and that is Birds of Prey is good.